All right, so we have time for just a few questions. If you have any about the show or about music or about playing an instrument, if you have a question, if you could raise your hand, and when we call on you, just stand up and talk really loud. Does anybody have any questions about any? Yeah.
Have you played in like theaters much bigger?
Much bigger? Yeah, actually, both Laura and I sing for the Seattle Opera in the chorus. So yeah, we've done that, and that. How big is Macaw? 4,000?
The two or three.
Oh, it's only 2 or 3.
2 or 3,000.
Well, opera singers are expected to be able to sing over an orchestra in spaces that are 4,000 seats. So that's a really big place to do it without being amplified. So yeah.
How about in the turquoise? Yes.
How long did it take you guys to develop your voice like that?
That's a great question. So when we were about your age, we started singing in school choirs, in church choirs, community choirs. We also started taking instrument lessons. I started playing the piano, I don't know how long ago. My mom's a piano teacher, so I started when I was really young. But we developed our musician skills as well as singing in choir and really learning how to use our bodies and our voices. And then as we got into high school, we got much more into solo and ensemble stuff. And then we decided at that point this was something that was really interesting to us, so we pursued it in college. And then after college, there's a number of different paths you can take. I went on to study in Europe for a couple years, and then I also got my master's degree. But those are things that you don't necessarily have to do. It's really dependent on the person. So for me, it took, I don't know, beyond high school, it took an additional 6 or 8 years of study. But for some people, it takes less time. It really depends on the person. And then, you get out there and you do it, and you learn on the job a lot of stuff. So. But it's important to start now if that's something you might think you want to do. And there's lots of great opportunities here in Bellevue for choirs and whatnot. So,
what's your question?
Do you guys do anything else besides the telephone, specifically together?
Oh,
Actually, we do.
Funny you ask.
Yeah. We are in a show that also goes to elementary schools called Our Earth, which is put on by Seattle Opera. And so we play very, very different characters in that. In that show, I'm either a fisherman, a frog, a salmon, or a coyote, depending on where we're at in the show. And I
play various birds in that.
Yeah,
I'm a heron, a raven, or an eagle.
Yeah. So it's, as you might guess, it's extremely different in terms of what is expected acting-wise and all that.
But in addition, Noise does a different show every year. So this year we're doing the telephone. I'm not sure what they're planning on doing next year, but there will be another show, and there's usually 5 singers, I think, in each of those normally. This year it's just a very small number of us, but there will be more shows next year and the following year, and each year it's different. So. And Noise has been fabulous in bringing these out to audiences like you, and you guys are a fabulous audience.
Yeah.
On average, how long do you practice daily?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It depends on what's going on. If you have a lot of music that you have to be prepared for and all that, obviously you might spend more time. But I think that on average, you should spend, an hour or so at least. Give yourself some time to warm up and then work on whatever you need to work on. But it all really it depends on how much you have going on. And there's also ways to practice without actually vocalizing. Like you can listen to your music and just review the words. Or like, for example, when we were doing this show and we were just rehearsing it, which we rehearsed for 3 days, mind you, 3 days. So when I would get done with rehearsal, I have a recording of it. So then I would just go through, and when our stage director told us where to move, I would just remember all of that as I'm listening to it. That's a really important part about all of this is that, yes, you see us 3 here, but we also have a stage director who told us where to go and what to do. We had a music director who made sure that all of our music was in the right place, and that we're singing it correctly. And we also had a costumer who designed our costumes. And all of that, and also a prop person who, got us this diva pillow and all the phones and all of that. So there's a lot of different ways that if perhaps you don't want to do the singing route, but you want to be involved in shows, you can do many other different things. So yeah, want to do one more?
Sure. Well, right here in the front.
Do you really need glasses, or is that just a prop for the show?
This is just a prop. Yep. Although that's
But I really need glasses.
yeah, he really does. Yeah. So anyway, you guys have been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for having us, and have a wonderful day.